Hello again. It's good to see so many of you have watched the video setting up the graphical calculator. Well, either that or one of you has watched it 22 times. But hopefully you've done that. And there's something else I'd like you to do for me now. If you can go back to the website that I've shown you before, iacmaths.weebly.com, and then go to sixth form and go to Induction, you'll see two files there. One file is a set of questions that we traditionally give people over the summer, and it's just a collection of GCSE techniques which are very useful at A level. The second file are the answers, and we're going to, over the next few weeks, going to work through some of those. Much of it you'll be able to do without any help, but I'll just be going through selected tricky questions and helping them out with it. I'll put a link to that in the description for this video. Okay, so let's continue playing with the calculator, and I thought we'd do a bit of statistics now. I've got two sets of data here, so let's say this is set 1 and this is set 2, and I just want to investigate the difference between the two sets. So when we are describing data, the sort of things we can do is we can work out averages, and we can work out measures of spread. So one average is the mean, which is where you add it all up and divide by how many values, and then we have the median. Alongside the median we have a way of measuring the spread of the data called the interquartile range, which you may remember is where you take the data, split it into quarters and ignore the top and the bottom quarter, so you look at the spread of the middle half of the data. There is a corresponding measure of spread that is associated with the mean, and I'm not going to show you how it works now, but I'm going to tell you about it. It's called standard deviation. So it's another measure of spread. So you've got the mean and median, which are averages, and you've got the standard deviation and the interquartile range, which are measures of how spread out the data is. The interquartile range is related to the median, and the standard deviation is related to the mean. It's a measure of, on average, how far values are away from the mean. And I'm going to use my calculator to calculate all four of these things for these two sets of data. So here's the calculator. And I'm going to put it into statistics mode. Press EXE to get it into that mode, and you should see this. And I'm now going to enter, using my cursor and the EXE button, those actually I don't think I need to use the cursor at all. I think if I do 34 EXE, yeah. So I'm going to enter that set of data all the way down in the first column, and then in list 2 I'll enter the second set of data. I'll see you in a minute when you've done that. If you pause the video at this point, you can see the data. Okay, so I've got my data entered. And before we use the calculator to do the calculations, just a little bit of notation. So to work out the mean, you add up all the data and divide by how many values. Now, adding up all the data, we use this notation. That's a Greek letter capital sigma to mean the sum of. So to add up all the values, we call that sigma x. We say that's just the total of all the values. And we divide that by how many values, and we tend to use letter n to stand for the number of values. And we have a notation for the mean. We call the mean x bar. So this is the mean, and to work out the mean you add up all the values and divide by how many values there are. And the standard deviation has a lowercase Greek letter, another sigma. So this is capital sigma, that's lowercase sigma, to signify it. The median doesn't have a notation, it's just called the median. The interquartile range, if you remember, is the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile. And that tends to be referred at this level as Q3, that's the upper quartile, the third quarter, minus Q1. And using that sort of logic, the median would be Q2. So let's now have a look at the calculator. and we need to do it for the two values, for the two sets of data separately. So I've got my data in there. Actually, you've probably got it on that. That's right. So the first thing I'm going to do is press calc. Remember, we're using these hotkeys, so that's F2. Again, sorry about my dirty fingernails. Been gardening today. Lovely day. So calc, and I'm just going to go to set first here, and I just want to check that my values X list. I've only got one variable data. It's not like a scatter diagram data. X list is list 1, and that should be the default setting, and the frequency of each of those values is 1. There's just one of each value. So if it looks like that, we're okay to go. So I'm going to press exit. So I then go to 1 var, and it gives me all of the values I need. So there we go. There's sigma x, the sum of all the values. So for set 1, sigma x equals 3, 5, 8. Obviously there are 8 values, and x bar is the mean, and they've done it for me, but I'm going to show my working. 358 divided by 8 equals 44.75. Can you see this is the standard deviation of x, sigma x? So that's the standard deviation, and I'm going to round that to 3 significant figures, which is the sort of default setting at A level, so that would be 19.1. If I use my cursor to scroll down, look, you can see the median, Q3 and Q1, so the median is 40.5, and the interquartile range is 63, take away 28.5. The only downside of these calculators is that it won't actually work out that sum for you, and you'd have to go back into your menu, run matrix mode if you wanted to do it. 63 minus 28.5, I'm hoping you could do it in your head, but there we go. Hopefully if I then from there go back into statistics mode, it's still at the same point. Oh, I've still got to go to calc and 1 var, there we go, that's where we were. So I've got all the information that I want about set 1. There's all sorts of other stuff there which we don't need. But what I can then do is do the same for my second set of data, set 2. So for that, I need to exit to get back to the list, and only exit once, not exit twice. If you do that, you need to go back to calc, and I go to set, and now I want list 2 to be my x value. So what I do is I highlight that, and here it says list, so list 2, still frequency. I don't need to worry about the 2 var stuff. Just press exit to get back to the data, and then 1 var, and there are the equivalent values for set 2. So sigma x is 272, same number of values. So the mean, here it is, they've calculated it for me, but you know how I like to show my working. And the standard deviation, if we were to measure of spread, 6.40. Scroll a bit further down. So the median is 34, and the interquartile range is 39.5, take away 28, which is 11.5. So what I can now do is compare the data. So let's talk about on average. On average, the mean indicates that set 1 is greater than set 2, and that's confirmed by the median. Both averages suggest that set 1 is bigger than set 2. And then what about the measures of spread? Well, we've now got 2. We're used to using the interquartile range, so the interquartile range shows that set 1 is far more spread out than set 2. But the standard deviation indicates the same. 19.1 is much bigger than 6.4. remember the standard deviation is roughly saying that on average values in this set are 19 bigger or smaller than the mean, and in this set they're only 6.4 bigger or smaller than the mean. That's what the standard deviation calculates. And that's all done with the calculator without having to break into a sweat at all. So don't forget to dig out the induction work. If you can download it, that'd be brilliant. Don't need to print it, but you may want to. And I'm going to try and get into the habit of posting Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So this is, although it's Sunday, this is Mondays, and you may choose therefore just to keep an eye on YouTube. I will label your videos Year 11, because you're still Year 11 to me, and I will see you again midweek. Hope you're all well, stay safe.